Most mainstream financial advice tells you the same thing. Save a big number, pay off the house, spend 4% a year. Claim Social Security early before it runs out. Follow the rules and you'll be safe. But what if the rules that sound the safest are the ones that hurt you the most? Some of them don't hurt right away. But years later, the decision is much harder to undo. The rule that costs you the most is usually the one you trusted without a second thought. As we go through these 10 rules, keep a quiet count of how many you have believed. And keep an eye out, one of them does far more damage than the rest. Let's start with the rule almost everyone hears first. Number 10, you need one big number to retire. It always starts with a number. $1 million, $2 million, 10 times your income by a certain age. The promise is simple. Hit the number and you're finally safe. But a big number is not the same as a paycheck. A big net worth can make you feel safe, but it doesn't mean you can pay next month's bills. You may have a house, retirement accounts, and savings. But you still need monthly cash flow for insurance, groceries, property taxes, gas, and everything else that keeps showing up. Those bills are paid with income, not your net worth. And I see this all the time. Someone has $1.2 million to their name, but most of it is locked in the house and in retirement accounts they still owe taxes on. In their 70s, they may have trouble paying bills. Covering them could mean selling investments at the worst possible time or triggering a tax bill they never planned for. The money is real, but turning it into steady income is the hardest part. The real question is not, do I have a big enough number to retire? Think about how much free cash you have left after taxes and bills every month. That should be your real retirement number. And once you understand that, the next question becomes obvious. How much of your savings can you safely spend each year? That leads straight to the most famous number in retirement planning. Number 9. The 4% rule will keep you safe. You've probably heard this one many times. Take out 4% of your savings each year, and you will never run out. It is simple and easy to remember. That is why people trust it. But the 4% rule was only ever a starting point, not a guarantee. Newer research from 2025 puts the safer starting figure closer to 3.9% for money that needs to last 30 years, and even that assumes the market cooperates. The real danger, though, isn't the exact percentage. It is timing. Picture someone who retires and starts taking withdrawals right as the market drops. Their account balance falls, but the bills keep coming. Inflation pushes those bills higher. So now they are taking more money out of an account that is already smaller. Nothing about that feels reckless in the moment. They are just following the 4% rule faithfully. But by the time the damage is obvious, the account may already be too far behind to fully recover. So before you trust any withdrawal rule, ask a better question. What would I change if the first few years of retirement go badly? Would you cut travel, delay a home project, pull from cash instead of investments, lower withdrawals for 1 year? That single decision protects you more than the rule itself. This is why simple retirement rules can be so misleading. They are easy to repeat, but they often leave out the part that changes the decision entirely. This is what this channel is for, explaining the rules people repeat and the fine print behind them. So if you want retirement planning explained that way, subscribe to the channel. The next rule is a perfect example because a lot of people assume their tax bill automatically gets smaller after they stop working. Number 8. Your tax rate will automatically be lower in retirement. On the surface, this one makes sense. You stop working, your paycheck goes away, so your taxes should go down. Sometimes in the first few years they do. That is what makes this rule easy to believe. But retirement taxes can come back in a different form. The money in a traditional 401k or traditional IRA was not taxed when it went in. But when you take it out, it is usually taxed as ordinary income. And once you reach your 70s, the government forces you to start taking money out, whether you need it or not. Those are called required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Now those withdrawals can stack on top of Social Security, pensions, investment income, or other income. That can raise your tax bill. It can also affect what you pay for Medicare. The mistake is not using a 401k or IRA. Those accounts can be very useful. It is assuming taxes will automatically take care of themselves after you retire. Picture a couple who feel confident about their taxes at 65. Their income is lower. Everything looks good. Then their 70s arrive and the required minimum distributions begin. Social Security is already in the mix, maybe a pension too. And suddenly, the tax bill is much higher than they'd gotten used to. The low tax years were not just a break. Those years may have been their best tax planning window for the rest of their retirement. So don't wait until the bigger tax bill shows up. Look at the years right after retirement. before required minimum distributions begin. That may be when you have the most control. Up to this point, the rules are mostly about account balances, withdrawals, and taxes. But retirement is more complicated than a few numbers on paper. The next rules show up in healthcare, housing, and the choices families make under pressure. Number 7, Medicare is the same as long-term care. Medicare may be one of the biggest misunderstandings in retirement. A lot of retirees assume that once they turn 65, healthcare is handled. And Medicare does cover a lot. Hospital care, doctor visits, prescriptions, depending on the plan. In 2026, the standard Part B premium is about $203 a month, with a $283 deductible before full coverage starts. But Medicare is not the same as long-term care. Many retirees don't realize that or plan for it until they need help. It doesn't pay for the everyday help many people need later in life. Help with bathing, dressing, getting around the house safely, or a longer stay in a care facility. It only pays for limited skilled care under narrow rules, but that is not the same as a long-term care plan. Timing is what makes this so dangerous. You usually don't discover the need at 65, when you feel fine and healthy. But it happens years later in the middle of a health crisis, when the family has the least time and very few good options. So treat long-term care as its own plan, decided on purpose, long before you need it. This is also why an HSA can matter so much, if you qualify for one. It's not just a medical spending account. Invested and used strategically, it can become part of a long-term healthcare plan. I broke down exactly how in my retirement accounts video. Healthcare is one place where people underestimate the real cost of retirement. Housing is another. Number 6, downsizing always saves money. Downsizing sounds like one of the cleanest retirement moves. The kids are gone, the house is too big. So you sell, buy something smaller, and pocket the difference. Sometimes that works beautifully, but not always. People focus on the size of the house and forget the cost of their new life. Selling a home costs money, agent fees, repairs before listing, moving costs, new furniture, maybe renovations in the new place, and the smaller home may not be cheaper in the way people expect. A condo may come with monthly HOA fees. A nicer area may have higher property taxes or insurance. And if the new place requires a mortgage, the monthly expenses may not fall as much as planned. Think about 2 retirees. They sell the family home because they want life to be simpler. They expect a nice financial cushion. But after the fees, the move, and the HOA on the new condo, the savings are much smaller than they expected. Their house got smaller, but their monthly expenses didn't drop that much. So before you list the old house, run the full numbers on both homes, not just the sale price, not just the new mortgage, the whole cost of living there. Downsizing only works if the new life is actually cheaper and still improves the quality of your life. And that leads to another housing rule that sounds safe, but can affect the one thing retirees need the most: flexibility. Number 5, you should always pay off your mortgage before retirement. Paying off the mortgage feels like the ultimate win. No house payment, no debt, no worries. And yes, a paid-off home can be a real advantage. But there is a trade-off many people miss. If you use too much of your cash to pay off the mortgage, you may remove the monthly mortgage payment, but you can also remove your flexibility. That can leave you equity rich but cash poor. And the house still costs money, even with no mortgage. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs, a roof, a water heater. The list goes on. Picture a retired couple in California who feels financially secure. Their house is finally paid off. Then one bad year hits. A wildfire damages their neighborhood. Their insurance gets more expensive, and it barely covers the damage. Repairs cost more than expected. Property taxes and other bills still need to be paid. Suddenly, they are sitting in their damaged, paid-for home. But they are stressed about cash because every spare dollar went into the house. The point of paying off the house is peace of mind. So don't trade the mortgage payment for a cash flow problem. Keep enough cash so the house never ends up owning your retirement. And if you have already counted 2 or 3 of these rules, that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means you have found a few assumptions worth a second look, while there is still time to act on them. Up to now, these rules can hurt your budget. The next ones can lock in decisions that follow you or your spouse for life. Number 4, Social Security will disappear, so don't count on it. Now we get to the fear that drives a lot of rushed decisions. Social Security disappearing. You hear it a lot. The program is running out. It will not be there. Don't count on it. And because the fear sounds cautious, people treat it like smart planning. But the truth is not usually all or nothing. Yes, Social Security has real funding problems. The 2026 Trustees Report projects the Retirement Trust Fund could run short as soon as late 2032. But running short is not the same as running out. Even if Congress did nothing, the projections point to reduced benefits, not zero benefits. At that point, the system could still pay about 77% of scheduled benefits. The danger is what that fear makes people do. One person decides the check is doomed, so they leave Social Security out of the plan completely and spend years living smaller than they needed to. Another person grabs the money as early as possible, just to get something before it disappears. Both decisions can be expensive, and both are driven by a headline instead of the actual range of outcomes. So plan for a few real versions of the future. Full benefits, somewhat reduced benefits, different claiming ages. Once you have planned for the range, the headlines stop running your decisions. And that matters because this same fear leads directly into the most expensive mistake on the whole list. Number 3, claim Social Security early before it disappears. This is what happens when fear turns into action. Claim at 62. Lock it in. Get your money before the system changes. It can feel like you are protecting yourself, but claiming early permanently shrinks your monthly check. By Social Security's own math, claiming at 62 gets you about 30% less than waiting until 67, and waiting past 67 grows your check all the way to 70. And for married couples, there's another piece that almost nobody thinks about soon enough. Your claiming decision can affect your spouse later. One spouse claims early out of fear. Years go by. That spouse passes away. Now the survivor is left living on a smaller check for the rest of their life. A decision made during one worried season can shape someone else's income for decades. To be fair, claiming early can be the right choice for some people. A real health issue, a real cash shortage, a shorter life expectancy. Those are legitimate reasons. The mistake isn't claiming early, it's claiming out of panic instead of from a solid plan. So don't make this decision until you have looked at your health, your cash flow, how long people in your family tend to live, and what your spouse would need if they were on their own. This is one of the few choices that can't be reversed, so it is worth slowing down for. And that last part, the spouse left behind, deserves its own section. Because a retirement plan can look fine for 2 people, then fail the one person who has to live with it alone. Number 2, average retirement advice ignores the surviving spouse. Most retirement advice is built around 2 people living together, 2 Social Security checks, maybe a pension, savings, a house, shared expenses. On paper, the plan can look comfortable, but what happens when there is only one person left? When a spouse dies, the household usually keeps the larger Social Security check, but the smaller one stops. A pension may shrink or end, depending on the option that was chosen, and the survivor may have to file taxes as a single person, which can mean a higher tax rate on less income. The bills don't fall by half. The income often does. Think about David and Susan. They are comfortable together for years. Then David passes away. Susan keeps the bigger Social Security check, but the second check is gone. His pension drops. Her tax situation gets worse. The plan worked perfectly, up until the day it was only meant for one. That is what makes this rule so dangerous. The gap is invisible while both people are alive. It only shows up at the worst possible moment, on top of grief. So whatever your retirement plan looks like, check it for the person who would be left behind. A plan that only works while both people are alive is not really a finished plan. And this is where retirement stops being just a money problem. Because even if the numbers work, there is still one final rule people get wrong. Number 1, freedom starts when you retire. A lot of people spend their whole working life believing this one. Work is the cage. Retirement is the day they finally let you out. Freedom, at last. But retirement doesn't hand you freedom. It gives you time. And those are not the same thing. A day off is wonderful. But thousands of empty days, with no plan, no purpose, and no reason to get up, can start to feel less like freedom and more like drifting. Time only turns into freedom when the money works, your health holds up, your people are around you, and you have something to point that time toward. You have probably seen it happen. Someone retires on the day they waited their whole life for. Then a few months later, they feel lost. So flip the order. Don't just retire away from work. Retire toward a life you actually want. Build the life first. Then pick the date, not the other way around. All 10 rules come down to the same thing. Retirement was never about hitting one number or following general advice. It is about building a life where your income, your health, your home, your taxes, and the people you love all hold together. When they do, retirement can feel like freedom. If they don't, it can feel like guessing, no matter how big the balance on your statement is. And whatever you counted throughout the video, don't treat it as a grade. Every point is just a place where the easy fix might still be in front of you instead of behind you. That is why you should check now instead of later. If this helped you see retirement a little differently, subscribe to the channel. I'm Allison. I read the fine print, so you don't have to. I'll see you in the next one.